Welcome to the Bob Siegal Show podcast on the Cross Global Media Radio Network. Visit cgmradio.com/Bob to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform.
I'm your host, Bob Siegal, and I want to introduce a very special first-time guest. Alexandra Levine is an internationally renowned opera singer turned conservative political activist. Alexandra got involved with politics in 2015, volunteering with the Trump campaign, and worked with all incumbent Republican Florida congressmen, as well as Senators Marco Rubio and Rick Scott. She also worked on state and local races nationwide from 2017 to present, including both of Governor DeSantis' campaigns. Alexandra is involved with the organization JEXIT. A lot of people have heard of Blexit, not as many of JEXIT. That's Jews exiting the Democrat Party. This organization also works to combat anti-Semitism, the persecution of Christians and other minorities. Alexandra owns her own political consulting firm, Levine Consulting. In addition, she has her own podcast on the Patriots Prayer Network called Alexandra 360 every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. for those listening on the West Coast. Alexandra Levine, welcome to our program.
Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you. Let me ask you, how did you get involved with opera, first of all?
Well, my mother said that I sang before I talked, and music was always part of my life. And I discovered opera when I was a teenager, and I listened to the greats such as Maria Callas and Joan Sutherland and Beverly Sills. And when my opera teacher said, "You have the vocal cords to sing opera," I was like floored because I knew about opera, but I wasn't in love with it. And then I just started studying it, and I fell in love with it. And I obtained a great career doing it.
Well, when I heard that, I went online, and I did hear on YouTube you singing God Bless America. You do have a very beautiful voice.
Thank you.
Now, that's quite a transition from opera to politics. How did that come about?
Well, I was never politically involved, but the Obama-Biden administration really hurt my profession and many other people around me. Under the Obama-Biden administration, opera houses were closing down all over the country and the world. The work was very stagnant.
Why was that? I could understand that happening during COVID. Why was that happening under the Obama administration? I mean, there were many things about his organization that I hated, but I wasn't aware of this one.
Well, there was no economic growth under Barack Obama.
Right. And that's a luxury, going to the theater.
Exactly. And people could not afford to go to, for example, the Metropolitan Opera House. The New York City Opera, which had been open for 50 plus years, closed down. And that was a big awakening. And people couldn't afford to go to opera houses in Europe. People couldn't afford to travel to Europe. And instead of people going to seeing operas live at the Metropolitan Opera House, they were spending $9 at the movie theater to watch an opera, which is not live. So that hurt a lot of people in my profession. That hurt myself. And I was living in New York at the time, and I went to Trump Tower in 2013 with a friend of mine, and I said, wouldn't it be great if this guy ran for president? You know, everything he touches turns to gold. And then, of course, he went down that escalator in 2015, and I looked up at God, and I said, our prayers are saved. And I was a big Trump supporter. I still am. Hardcore Trump supporter. I'm part of President Trump's hardcore base. I love the man. And I knew he was going to win in 2016, and I knew he was going to win in 2020, and I knew he was going to win just, in November 5th. I believed in the man, and I believed in everything that he said, and he helped me and inspired me to be a better person. He helped and inspired me to become an entrepreneur. He helped and inspired me to get back into singing. When he was the president, people were asking me again to sing. People were asking me again to travel across the country and the world, which I did. I sang all over Israel and Europe under his administration. And then Biden came in and ruined that again. And then we had COVID, and then Biden and Kamala Harris ruined that again. So that's why it's so important this time that President Trump is going back into the White House. He's going to be saving a lot of young people. He's going to be bringing jobs back to this country, and we're going to get our country back on track. That's why there was such an influx in young people to vote for him, because they're seeing that they can't afford groceries. They're seeing that they can't afford the things that they used to. And under President Trump, we know this. Gas prices were down. People could afford their groceries. People were getting married and having kids, and people want to go back to that. They want to go back to the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Yeah, it is interesting. It's very rare that we have an election where we can compare the guy that ran things the last 4 years with the guy that's running again who was the 4 years before that. And it's not really rocket science. All people had to do was look at their lifestyle and their pocketbooks.
Exactly.
So it is interesting. You seem to have been very familiar with Trump before he became a candidate. Of course, he was really well known all over the media. And he was a Democrat and a liberal for many years. And a lot of the people that are now calling him Hitler loved him. That includes people like Al Sharpton. That includes the women on The View, like Whoopi Goldberg. They've shown footage of him as a guest on The View and them hugging him. He went to Hillary Clinton's daughter's wedding. It was only when he switched to the Republican Party, and really only after he got the nomination. It seemed like the leftist media was kind of enamored with him when he was in there breaking things up and going after the establishment Republicans. They loved that. But once he got the nomination, isn't it interesting how the script flipped?
Yeah, but the thing is, I've seen it time and time again. And even working on campaigns, I see people that love my candidate during the primary, and then my candidate loses, or my candidate attacks someone else, another Republican, and then they turn on my candidate, or they turn on their so-called friends. So what President Trump really did is he showed the American people who his friends are and who his friends aren't, and who became his friends. People like myself, the MAGA movement, people that support the MAGA movement, the forgotten man and the forgotten woman, people that have been Democrats for years that always voted Democrat but voted for Trump in the general, or people that were always Democrats and switched parties to Republican, or they switched to independent. So Trump really opened up people's eyes. And President Trump also saw who he can and cannot trust. And he even says now, I had a lot of bad people that worked under me in 2017, 2018. I'm a newbie. I didn't know. And even his son, Don Jr., admitted that on Fox News recently. But if you see now the people that he is appointing in his cabinet and the people that are going to be working in his administration, these are people that have been loyal to President Trump from the beginning. These are people that really care about our country and really want to get our country back on track. And I applaud President Trump for calling out Chuck Schumer, for calling out Hillary Clinton, for calling out all these people that were supposedly his, quote, friends that are not his friends anymore.
Yeah, he's a quick study, and he's much wiser now. When he went in the first time, he said he was going to drain the swamp. I don't think he realized the swamp was as deep as the Grand Canyon. Probably none of us did. And he was a deal maker. He thought that he could get the Republicans and Democrats to work together. And he certainly thought the people in his own party, the Republicans, were going to be on his side. He assumed that if somebody was a trusted general or head of the FBI, he could trust them. He learned right away that this didn't happen. And when I heard he was running again, I often said over the air, if he comes back into power, every single person that falls under the administration of the executive branch needs to be fired, up to the guy that empties the wastebaskets. Now, I'm not sure how much he's going to be able to pull that off. If anybody can, he can. And if he doesn't do it, I don't think it will ever happen. But I did want to ask you about that. These cabinet picks of Trump. What are the chances that they're going to get confirmed and get past some of these rhinos that we have in there, like Mitch McConnell and Lisa Murkowski, some of the others?
Well, that's a great question, too. I mean, as you know, he appointed Congressman Matt Gaetz from Florida as the Attorney General.
And he's already out.
He's out. A lot of people said that Trump did that as a way to kind of wake up we the people, to let you know where these Senate rhinos are coming from. And again, John Thune's job as the new Senate Majority Leader is to work with President Trump and to work with his appointment. And if he, for some reason, doesn't get them through, then we the people need to primary these rhinos out. President Trump said we need to get rid of the rhinos and the never-Trumpers and the snowflakers of this country.
Yeah, unfortunately, some of them are not going to be up for re-election the next 2 years because they get a 6-year term.
Right, that's true, too. That is very true as well. But the thing is, President Trump has the power of the purse. He does have executive order powers. Like he even said, if they don't get Matt Gaetz through, we'll find another way to get him through, or we'll put him in a different department. And we see what they're doing with Pete Hegseth. They're going to probably try to push back on Kash Patel, who's fabulous, and they're probably going to try to hurt RFK Jr. as well. But it's about we the people, and we the people mandated, we voted for President Trump. We mandated that he is going to be the next president, and that these are the things that we the people need to survive. And if they don't get these guys through, it's going to be a real issue, and it's going to be a real problem going forward.
I hear you. Unfortunately, it's becoming so apparent that the Washington deep state, Republicans not all Republicans, but a lot of Republicans and Democrats alike don't seem to really care what the people say. They are there and they are entrenched. And honestly, I think what threatens them more than anything is what Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk are planning to do. They could go in there and easily fire 60, 70% of the people like they did with Twitter turning it into X, which I would just love to see. But those people are going to lawyer up and call on their unions. A lot of this is going to get settled in the courts. It's going to be ugly, but it's got to happen, because if it doesn't happen now, I honestly don't think this country will ever see a chance for it to happen again.
I agree. I also think they need to get rid of the special interests and the lobbyists on Capitol Hill. They're detriments to our nation. The lobbyists and special interests, the majority of them are Democrat. Unfortunately, they do control the power of the purse. They make $400,000 a year to $1 million, and they have a lot of influence in who gets in and who gets out. It's not the political consultants that are the problem. I know sometimes political consultants get a bad reputation. It's the special interests and the lobbyists that are hurting our nation, and they should be removed from Capitol Hill. They shouldn't be allowed.
Now, you mentioned Cash, and of course, he was recently nominated for head of the FBI. Have you met him personally? I noticed a picture of the two of you together. Have you met Kash Patel?
I have. I met him in November of 2021 here in Maryland. It was an event. I was VIP at the dinner. I did have a lovely conversation with him and a nice rapport, and then we took the picture together. And he's just a very sweet guy, and he loves this nation, and he's a very intelligent man. And I had the pleasure of meeting Congressman Devin Nunes, former Congressman Devin Nunes, and him and Cash worked together, and we talked a lot.
And they've been victims of the weaponized FBI, haven't they?
Yes, they have been.
So they're going to be well motivated to go in there and really clean house.
Correct. And the reason that President Trump is picking certain people is these people have been hurt themselves by the FBI and the DOJ. Tulsi Gabbard, for example, was put on a FBI terrorist watch list.
Yeah, I hear she's a veteran. It's just appalling what they did to her.
It's appalling what they did to her. And she's tough as nails. And I'm really glad that she was appointed a DNI director. And of course, we want the JFK files open. We want the RFK files open. RFK Jr. wants to know what happened to his father, his uncle, and his family. I mean, this is important stuff that needs to be released. And the deep state and establishment, of course, are getting scared. And they were saying when Kash Patel was appointed, now the FBI is just shredding everything, shredding the paper, shred, because there's a lot of corruption in those departments. There's a lot of corruption in the DOD and NSA, a lot of corruption in the CIA as well. And they're scared that these big appointments are coming in and they're going to clean house.
Well, let them shred whatever they want, just as long as their jobs also get shredded. That's what I say. Now, I want to talk about the JEXIT movement. Are you Jewish yourself?
Yes, I am. I'm 100% Jewish.
And do you consider yourself religious Jew or Reformed, or where would you put yourself?
I'm a religious observant Jew. I'm not Orthodox. I was brought up conservative. I do keep kosher in my home. I observe all the holidays. I actually studied to become a cantor and a rabbi. So I have a lot of the knowledge of Judaism in my blood.
That's wonderful. And you've been to Israel as a singer and probably many other times. Tell our audience what it's like to actually be in Israel. I've been there twice. I'm imagining you've been there a whole lot more than I have.
I actually have only been there twice. I was supposed to go there the third time, but because of October 7th, I couldn't go.
Oh, yeah.
But I've been asked to go. I actually just renewed my passport, so now I can go. Thank God I can go again. But it's a beautiful, beautiful country. I felt a lot safer living there than in New York City, Maryland, other places in the country that I've lived in. And the people there are so nice. I have a lot of friends that are still in the Israeli Defense Force. I have a lot of small business owner friends in Israel that I'm still very close with. I have family that live in Israel. I have family that live in Tel Aviv. They live in Ra'anana, Netanya. And I had the pleasure of working with the government, the Israeli government. I'm a direct descendant of a prime minister of Israel, Moshe Sharetz, who was the second prime minister of Israel. The first foreign minister of Israel is my relative.
Wow.
He was the first signatory of the declaration between President Harry Truman and Israel. And also, my family is also connected to Tiberias. The first mayor of Tiberias, his wife is my direct relative as well. My family literally built Israel, so I have strong ties to Israel.
Oh, that's wonderful. Now, so what do you think about this? I've talked about this a lot on the program, but this narrative going around today that Jews have no historical claim to the Holy Land, that there was this indigenous group of people called the Palestinians who lived there for thousands of years until those nasty Jews came from Europe and threw them out. That is the the narrative that's being believed on our college campuses and disseminated by our university professors.
I know, and it's total ignorance. It's extreme ignorance. One of the things that I do, it's my life's work, is to make it mandated to teach the Holocaust in all 50 states K through 12. I'm also working with the universities to give them the entire 47-minute video of what Hamas did to the 1,200 innocent people on October 7th. I saw the 47-minute video. My father and I both did. We saw the full entire video. We watched it all. We watched the horror of what these people did.
It's just women were raped, babies were put into ovens, babies were decapitated. Yeah. At least the Nazis, not that I would ever defend the Nazis, they tried to cover up what they did. Hamas was reveling and putting it out over Facebook programs while they were committing the rapes. Everybody needs to see that video.
Yeah, they do. And I've pushed the Israeli government to see it. They have to be very careful releasing the whole 47-minute video. That's why they've kind of released snippets of it. But I am pushing that into the colleges and universities, that needs to be a course that is taken. Also, I work with a lot of school boards all over the nation, and I've educated the teachers and the school board members on the proper curriculum to teach to the students in different wavelengths. And I tell them, don't just teach the Holocaust. Teach pre-Holocaust, up to the Holocaust, and up to how Israel became a state, and then up to October 7th. They need to know that knowledge. And also, I told the schools they can put a Christianity and Islam aspect into it, talking about how Christianity was created, how Islam was created. But the biggest thing, and President Trump talks about this, any teacher, any administrator that pushes political bias into the classroom, meaning not teaching the Holocaust as it was or putting their political spin, will be automatically fired. I combated CARE in Annapolis, Maryland. I got CARE itself to be removed from the Anti-Hate Commission permanently. The fact that it was even a part of the Anti-Hate Commission is disgusting. But CARE will not have any effect on the Anti-Hate Commission anymore. But I'm working in Montgomery County schools right now to remove any teacher that is associated with CARE to not teach anything that has to do with the Holocaust or anything that has to do with Israel, because they are going to put their political spin into the classroom.
Well, thank you so much for your courage. You're a very brave person. We need a lot more people like you.
Thank you. It has to be done, because I think of, I don't have children, but when I do have children, when that day comes, I think of them. I think of the future children of this country. I also think of my nieces and nephew, because a lot of kids are homeschooled because they don't teach the curriculum properly, and they're pushing CRT and gender identity in certain states nationwide, and it's a real problem. That
is a nightmare, and you don't hear as much about it, but I think this last election, in addition to the economy and the open border, was a backlash against the CRT and critical race theory and all the woke nonsense.
Well, that's the reason why Governor Youngkin is the governor of Virginia.
Yeah.
Because pushing that, the CRT and the gender identity in Loudoun County, which is a more liberal county. And because of COVID, the parents finally saw what is being taught in their child's classrooms. And they're like, what the heck is going on? This is not appropriate. I don't want my 5-year-old cousin knowing what sex is or reading books about incest and rape. It's disgusting. Children should be taught at an elementary school level. They should be taught real history, real things that matter, not about incestuous relationships with mother and father and mother and daughter and mother and brother, mother and son. Is disgusting.
Well, and denying gender.
Correct.
During COVID, all we were hearing was follow the science, follow the science. Is there anything more scientifically verifiable than the genetic difference between a man and a woman? It's like the emperor's new clothes. It's like, never mind, don't believe your lying eyes. If everyone else believes this, it must be true. And nobody else does believe it, but everybody thinks everybody else in the crowd believes it.
Exactly. And again, it's the minority trying to be the majority. Thank God that Tim Walz did not win, because, as you know, his state, under his leadership, through executive order, he said that a 3-year-old could go and say, I want gender reassignment surgery without parental consent. And that's disgusting. Why should a 3 or a 5-year-old be thinking about that? And
that's the law in my state, too, California, under Governor Newsom, unfortunately.
Right. Oh, Governor Newsom is another one. I think Kamala Harris wants to run for governor in your state. You better get that.
Yeah, that would be just wonderful. States like Texas are looking a whole lot better to me these days. I wanted to ask you your opinion of the pressure being put on Netanyahu to make peace with Hamas and have a ceasefire. I certainly understand every family whose loved one is a hostage and they want them back. I understand that, but doesn't that just embolden terrorism if they don't go out there and completely finish the job?
It does, but Prime Minister Netanyahu, he's got 2 missions: to annihilate the enemy once and for all, and to bring the hostages back. And he's been doing that. And I blame Biden because we still have American hostages still under Hamas rule. And he hasn't done anything for that. But the Israelis, they're actually the ones that have gone in and released all the hostages and have tried to bring back the American hostages. safely. They were on their way to bring back the American that was murdered, Hersh Goldberg Pollen. I knew his family well, and it was very sad. It was very, very sad. But if Biden would have been on top of that from the beginning, maybe Hersh would still be alive today.
Did you see the news just recently where Biden was photographed coming out of a bookstore holding a copy of an anti-Israeli book?
Yeah, it's insane.
With that lying narrative about the indigenous Palestinians. People don't even understand that the word Palestine was invented under Emperor Hadrian, after he kicked the Jews out of Judea, and it was a Latinized version of the word Philistine. Nobody hears this stuff. Nobody's taught this anywhere.
Exactly, because they're uneducated, and that's the problem. And again, it has to do with the political bias that's in the classroom. But Biden has dementia. Biden's out the door, so he figures I can do whatever I want. But it's disgusting because he's supposed to be, quote, the commander-in-chief, and this is what he's pushing. But Biden is the reason why October 7th happened and why the war is still progressing in Ukraine and Russia. And President Trump has said, we want to end the wars. And let me tell you something, Prime Minister Netanyahu is very happy that President Trump is going back into the White House. And it's a shame what the ICC is doing to Netanyahu. I knew that was coming. That was George Clooney's wife, Amal Clooney, by the way. She's the main attorney in charge. I'll never see a George Clooney movie ever again. I will never patronize the man. But that's his wife doing it. His wife is behind this. His wife is the reason why the Prime Minister Netanyahu was indicted, and that's why he can't go to the Ukraine and like 12 other countries for fear he'll get arrested. It's disgusting. It's very disgusting. And the ICC really has no clout here. They're just an outside organization that really doesn't have any merit here. I mean, Biden came out and said, we denounced what they're doing, but he's the reason why they're doing it. He was behind it from the beginning.
Do you think the Democrats will really cede power? There are some people wondering if Biden won't just step down so that Kamala has to get in as president and then perhaps declare martial law or something. I know that sounds a little outlandish, but there's nothing I would put past them, honestly.
Yeah, I heard that rumor. I think if they're going to do it, they would have done it already, or they would do it probably by now. But I think President Trump and Joe Biden had a very interesting conversation at the White House. And there's reasons why Joe Biden pardoned his son today. That was a really big story that just happened.
Oh, I had not heard that. I had heard that he was thinking about, well, there's no surprise. We all knew he was going to do that, right?
Yeah, we all knew he was going to do that. But
especially when Joe insisted he wasn't going to do it. That was the moment I knew he would do it. Whatever Joe says he'll do, just go to the opposite.
Exactly. There was some talk there between Joe Biden and Trump. And, we weren't there. We don't know. But it's going to be very interesting to see what happens come January 20th.
Well, I know this. The more the deep state sees this cabinet and thinks about this cabinet that Trump's assembling, the more desperate they are going to be to try not to cede power, whether it's not approving of the appointees or just trying to keep Trump out altogether. I'm not saying they'll succeed, and I don't think they will. I just think it's not over yet. And I think that between now and when Trump is actually sworn into office, we're going to still see all kinds of drama.
I agree. I just want him to get sworn in. I worry about his safety every single day. I just want to see him get sworn in without any problems. I really do. I pray for that man every single day. And that's all we can hope for in this world, because people are like, it looks too easy. This is too easy. Something's going to happen. It looks too easy that the deep state would just allow him to win and he's going to take the oath of office and he'll be fine. I do worry about his safety a lot.
Yeah, I do too, and I pray for it every day. Alexandra, we only have 1 minute left. I want to quickly get your own views on this whole JEXIT movement. Some of the stuff you might have heard me say earlier about how traditionally Jews have felt obligated to vote Democrat, but that's changing. What kinds of change have you just been an eyewitness to amongst fellow Jews?
Well, I'll be honest, the organization JEXIT Inc., we have been astronomical in talking to Jewish people, getting them to either leave the Democrat Party by either changing parties or just voting Republican, because we bring up the facts to them. When you talk about the universities, I'm an NYU alumni, and I saw a lot of the Gaza encampments at NYU. I saw a lot of Jewish kids getting attacked by these pro-Hamas people, and I reached out to them on social media. I did not bring up my politics. All I did was ask them, how are you doing? Are you okay? And they said, oh my God, we can't even get that from our own president, our own dean, our own classmates. So you, a perfect stranger, reached out to me, and we love you for it. And then, of course, I got into my politics, and they found out I was a Republican. I voted for Trump. And they said, because it's you, because you reached out to us, we're going to switch parties, and we're going to vote for President Trump. I also was front and center at a lot of these universities, such as Towson University, combating the BDS solutions that the student body was pushing and passing. Thank God a lot of them are non-binding. But that really hurt a lot of the college students to know that their school is allowing BDS resolutions to be passed. And that deterred a lot of Jewish students to vote for Democrats.
Okay.
And they ended up for President Trump because of that.
All right.
And
Alexandra Levine, what an honor to have you on tonight. I wish we had more time. I hope you'll come back and be a guest again sometime.
Yeah, definitely. You can follow me at Alexandra Levine on Facebook and Alexandra Levi 20 on X. And also, please go to my website, levineconsulting.co. That's levineconsulting.co.
Okay, we'll see you next time, everybody.
The Bob Siegal Show podcast is a production of Bob Siegal and Cross Global Media. Visit us online and subscribe to the show at cgmradio.com/Bob.